So welcome to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel. My name is Connor, and joining me today is Dylan Flashner. Dylan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Yeah, and for anyone who might not have already seen it, just before we started this recording, we did a quick 60-second hot seat game. Will be the video next to this one on the channel. But yeah, we will go into how you scored, just in case people haven't watched it. But like, how do you think you did? Were you happy with
You know
that?
what? I'm gonna let people find out for themselves, but I think I did pretty well.
For
Too bad.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already, or if you haven't come from that video in the first place. But yeah, welcome to this main interview. And I suppose to kind of start off at the beginning, so it's a good place to start. But
Yeah.
like, how did your journey in acting first start?
Oh man, I first started in music, so that
Okay.
was my first kind of journey. I did that unsuccessfully for about 5 years.
Mm,
And On a music video set of mine, there was a producer of television, or just a producer that did some TV producing, and they were like, you'd be good for this. You got a look, you've got, something there. And I just kind of scoffed it off. I was like,
mm.
there's no way this is a real thing. But the next day, they sent me an email of a script with me as the lead for a TV pilot,
Yeah.
and no one will ever see that TV pilot to this
Mm,
day. But it started off my acting career, and I've kind of kept going since. So
mm.
that's kind of my story with that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't know whether it's the same for you as someone actively in the industry and meeting people, but I know for me, talking to people through this, there's a lot of I feel it's a bit of a split where you have some people who would say, oh, I wanted to be an actor all my life. I studied and like I broke into the industry. And then you have some people, not too unlike yourself, where it wasn't like on their radar and they kind of found their way to it by other means. Like, do you find there's a split when people you meet, or is it generally kind of one or the other?
I think it's definitely a split. I
Mm,
think this industry is kind of one of those things where I think we all wanted to entertain, maybe from a young age, but
mm,
I'm not sure if we all knew that we wanted to be actors and actresses. So, um, yeah, for me, I've always wanted to act. I just was too scared and honestly not confident enough until I was in
mm.
my 20s to do it. Um, but I think it is a split. I think it's more so, timing is everything with this one. So, yeah, I'd agree that's a split.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I know you've got several upcoming exciting projects in the works. I know one of them, if correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
Kalahari, is that right?
yeah. Kalahari. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I mean, I'm sure you'll get into this, but that's an amazing cast in that one, led by Ryan Phillipe. But I suppose just for anyone who hasn't heard about this film, like, how would you describe it? Like, how would you set it up?
Oh, it's basically it's kind of a survival movie. And I think that's actually a popular genre with people is we're stuck in the Kalahari Desert, and it's basically, six people from different walks of life trying to survive
Mm.
a terrible situation. So um shout out Emil Hirsch, who's also in that movie.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
good friends.
Great actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor too. He does a great job in it. But everyone really held their own, and I think people would be surprised at how entertaining and eye-catching this movie is.
Mm. How did the project first come to you? Was it an audition? Like, because correct me if I'm wrong. I know you've worked with, I think, Ryan Phillipe in other
Yeah.
projects. So was that the first one you did with him, or had you worked with him prior?
No, so that was actually my third one I've done with him.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. So this Mukunda DeWill is the director of this movie, who also directed a movie I did previously called Collide.
Mm,
Um, and he gave me the call, and he was like, "Hey, Dylan, I have a movie for you if you're interested. It's a sort of character that's, social media-esque,
mm,
um, sort of influencer type guy, and we think you'd be perfect for the gig."
mm,
Um, and I didn't hesitate one bit. I thought it was a really fun character. It was a really interesting movie, and I would love working with Makunda. So
mm.
um, I jumped on the opportunity when I could.
Yeah. And where can people catch that if it's not out already?
So it's not out yet. It
Right.
should be in a couple months. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Amazon and Apple TV.
Mm,
That's where you'll be able to catch it. But we'll wait for distribution to figure that out and all that before
mm,
I talk too soon. But I'm almost 100% sure it's
mm.
Amazon Apple TV.
For sure, yeah, and obviously you mentioned that Emil Hirsch is a friend of yours. He's also in it. It's like, was that a friendship that was formed during the making of Kalahari, or was it before?
And you know what? It's so funny. We did a movie previously that hasn't finished yet. It got
Right.
shut down for COVID. It's called Good Side of a Bad Man.
Mm,
And yeah, so we actually built a friendship there. And he had already committed to Kalahari at the time. And I got the call while I was on set of Good Side of a Bad Man that I should be doing Kalahari. So
mm,
he kind of talked me into it a little bit. But we play poker quite a bit together still, and he's one of my close friends actually. So I really appreciate him. He's helped me a lot.
mm. Oh, absolutely. And I know you've got quite, I'll say, a very impressive list of past co-stars you've worked with in general. And I
Yeah.
mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm getting confused with anybody here, but I
Oh,
believe Morgan Freeman
yeah.
is among them. Yeah, Mel
I've worked
Gibson,
for-
and that's
Yeah.
another great one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I suppose that when you're working with who I would say icons like that, like I mean, just how were those experiences?
Oh man, it's sort of polarizing. You almost have to kind of pinch yourself a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm really here with these people because
Mm,
you watch them and they're so bigger than life when you watch them on television or watch them in the movie theaters that you almost don't feel like it's a real moment. But one thing about those guys is more humble than I could have ever expected.
mm,
They were just so good. They were just so easy to work with. They were so welcoming. I really couldn't have asked more from those two, ironically enough. And Mel has been a really, really big help for me on set.
mm.
And we've done 3 movies together now.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
I can't say enough about Mel when it comes to how awesome he is to other people on set as well.
Mm,
Uh, I think that goes underrated when those kind of icons come up to, anyone and just talk to them about anything. It goes a long way.
yeah.
And I see that. So I want to emulate that if I can as I keep going in my career.
Sure. And just kind of asking as a non-actor myself, but like in general, like what kind of advice could like a more experienced actor impart? Because obviously you're not looking to essentially copy their acting style, but like what kind of advice can they give? If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like what kind of advice can like a Mel Gibson or a Morgan
Mm,
Freeman give to somebody?
yeah.
And I still consider myself somewhat new to the
Mm,
acting game and everything like that. I think just be fearless and be yourself. I think a lot of people can overthink this a little bit to a sense. It's really just about giving
mm,
and being willing to laugh at yourself, be willing to turn into something that's just different. And I think everyone tries to follow a straight line. I think this is such a jagged line business, and you just have to change up what you do all the time and um, not be afraid to be in the moment and just give what you have to give, and that'll be good enough. So
mm,
um, I think they've done a really nice job of just being normal and not making this too big of a moment for people. So I think they know what they're doing.
mm.
They know how to get the best out of you, and um, yeah, they've given me some great advice over time.
For sure. Yeah. And just kind of going off a bit of what you said, because my understanding anyway is that acting is an industry built on connections. And obviously, if you make a good impression, that can, work out for you down the line. So, was working with some of these actors multiple times, as you said, like a coincidence, or did the fact you'd worked with them previously have any bearing on you ending up in those later films?
I don't think there's such thing as a coincidence
Mm,
usually. I think truthfully, a lot of my previous jobs have helped me get my next job. Whether that be because of the performance I give or whether that be because of the connections I make. And um, I'm not here to go out and lie and say that, I haven't made friends on sets and that's how you get your next job. But in
Mm.
this business, it is very friendship oriented. It's very, um, what have you done previous, and how can you help us in the future? So, um, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a mix now.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag at this point, but the reasoning of me working with Mel 3 times, has to do with the fact that I think Mel enjoys working with me and they can
Mm.
trust me. So um, I think it's a mixed bag.
Mm, for sure. And I suppose, obviously, on the flip side of what we were talking about, one aspect you've worked with, like I said, these legends and these icons, and you've also have a film coming up with a younger cast, Deltopia, I believe,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so that, and obviously, yeah, that includes Luna Blaze, Madison Pettis, right, or some of the people in that. But yeah, I suppose on that flip side experience, like working with these younger actors, like how did you find that?
It was interesting. It felt like high school a little bit.
Hmm.
It just working with, older and more seasoned people, I think it's almost sometimes less of a camaraderie.
Right.
Um, when you get these younger casts, I think we all got along great, and we worked really well together, and I had a lot of fun with everybody. Shout out Madison Pettis and Hart Denton and
Mm.
Charlie Gillespie, and I think everyone was just so awesome with each other, and um, they have a lot of experience themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Madison's been doing this since she was 3 years old, and um, I think that it's a lot of fun for me to do the younger sets with people who are my age.
mm,
Um, I enjoy that. That's what's fun for me.
for sure. Yeah, because even that's something people might take for granted. You might have somebody who's younger but could be like a 20-year veteran already, like even at the
Right.
age of like, by their early 20s, they're a 20-year veteran of that industry, which is
I worked with Ariel Winter from
okay.
Modern Family, and
Yeah.
she's doing this since she was 4 years old,
Mm,
which is it's crazy to me, and she's in her mid 20s now.
right.
Uh, So you just never know who you're working with and how long they've been working.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really interesting, the business.
For sure, yeah, and we kind of jumped over this, but so Deltopia, like, what's the premise of that? Like, how would you set up that?
Oh yeah. So there's a party in Santa Barbara, which is a part of California,
Yeah.
at the university called Deltopia. And basically it's this big, wild, almost end of the year party that they throw every year.
Mm,
Uh, it got a little wild one year, and this is basically the story of that. So we're me, Hart Denton, Charlie Gillespie, Madison Pettis, and Luna Blaze, we all go to this party
mm,
as high schoolers. And we kind of crash the party a little bit, and kind of all hell breaks loose a little bit, and
mm,
some drama ensues. But it's a really fun movie. I've been lucky enough to see it. And I think people are going to be really interested in the dynamics of all the characters and everything like that. So, yeah, that's basically the breakdown of that one.
sure. And where can people catch that one when it's out?
So that one is going to be released on Amazon, Apple TV, um, and then we will see where it ends up after that. We're still kind of in talks a little bit with where it might go, but
Mm,
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and jinx the thing.
mm,
So for now, it's Amazon and Apple TV.
for sure, yeah. And obviously, as I mentioned, you've got a few things in the works. I suppose if there were any more that I've not mentioned that you'd like to shout out, like, are there any that come to mind?
So right now, I I wish I could talk about some of the movies that I've been lucky enough to be doing
Mm,
lately. They haven't been announced yet, so I'm gonna just keep it quiet. But um, I have been working. I have been I have been doing a lot lately, so I'm really excited for what's coming up, and a lot bigger roles than when I started in the business. So I'm very excited about that, and who I get to work with coming up.
mm. Oh yeah, absolutely, and best of luck with everything going forward. And yeah, I'll say, thanks again for taking the time to chat today.
Oh, thank you, Connor. I appreciate you having me on.